Billy Luicci, who covers Texas A&M daily. Billy, I hope all is well, man. Welcome back to T-Town.
All's well here in College Station, my friend. How you doing, Ryan?
Man, we're great, man. 73 days away, Billy. So it's been a quiet off season here in Tuscaloosa, as you would imagine. 44-16 butt whipping in Santa Clara 170 days ago. It is quiet in T-Town, man.
Yeah, I'm surprised you'd say it was quiet. I figured they'd be chomping at the bit to get on the field. I guess for Bama fans, they're waiting till late December, early January roll around. So it's longer than 70 something days for them.
But Billy, I must tell you, we've done this a couple of different shows here, and we've always asked the hardest game for Alabama. Most people say it's going to be in College Station against Texas A&M. Do they have the roster that can throw up a hurdle in front of this Tide team?
Yeah, they do. They do. I mean, I don't. You know, it's interesting. They're going to start probably one senior out of 22, which obviously isn't ideal. But weirdly enough, they have a pretty veteran football team. They have a lot of guys that have played a lot of football. They've got a veteran quarterback and receiving core and a pretty experienced defensive front. So, I mean, look, I think A&M is going to be really strong up front. I think my guess is they'd be able to run the football, stop the run, and they have a veteran quarterback. And that combination is going to make this a pretty tough football team this year. Now, that schedule is going to catch up to them at times. I don't think this is the big breakthrough season for A&M. I think that's 2020 and 2021. But I do think they'll have a breakthrough win this year. And whether that comes against Bama, Clemson, or Georgia, I don't know. I do think they're going to get one of those three games. And if you're Alabama and you're their fans wondering, well, yeah, I mean, I saw somebody listed their top 5 toughest games this year, and by the time you get to like number 4 and 5, it's really like shocking that it falls off to Duke and South Carolina, you know, when you look at that schedule. So, A, I don't think there's a ton of competition for Bama this season, and B, they will be playing a pretty experienced, confident football team on the road in one of the toughest environments to play in college football. So when you factor all that in, yeah, I think I would put the A&M game number 1 on the list of toughest for Bama this season, because I think the Aggies will be about on the level of LSU and Auburn. I think those three teams are all pretty similar if you just said rate them on a 1 to 10 scale. But the fact that it's coming to College Station in Kyle Field, and I think when you look at all three of those teams, you know, the most dangerous quarterback out of the bunch is by far Kellen Mond, as he showed against LSU and Clemson when he's on.
What's the weakness for this Aggie team?
I think I think it would be in the back 7. There's definitely going to be a concern there. They really returned. Buddy Johnson is really the only linebacker that's played extensively that returns. Now, they had a 5-star in Anthony Hines that flashed it as a true freshman and then missed all of last season with an ACL. He's back. But they're really thin at linebacker. It's going to be a lot of inexperience there. And then the secondary will probably tell the tale for this football team because they gave up a lot last year. They were really bad in losses to – really bad in terms of just finding the football. They were kind of in position to make plays, but it was a killer down the stretch against Auburn the last couple drives, big plays on the back end throughout the Clemson game, and in their loss to Mississippi State of all teams, where Nick Fitzgerald and those receivers were kind of riddling that secondary all day. So the thing is that they returned all but Donovan Wilson on the back end. Everybody that really played last year in the secondary is back, save one key, one starter. And they returned a guy that sat out last year, talented 6'4" corner in Clifford Chapman, and they signed 4 guys that 3 were national top 100 recruits, and the 4th was the number 1 JUCO corner in the country. So they not only bring back everyone pretty much, but they also bring in a lot. So I think is that position still going to be a concern, or is it going to quickly turn into a strength? And if it does, then this is going to be a really good football team. But I think that back seven is still a huge question mark as we approach fall camp.
Billy, can you put it in words? We're talking to Billy Luicci, TexAgs.com, Texas A&M coverage. Billy Luicci joining us here as we break down Texas A&M. Can you put it in words? And this might take, and I know you do radio too, but in a kind of a quick way, can you summarize the culture change from Kevin Sumlin to Jimbo Fisher?
Man, it's been night and day, that's for sure. These guys I think the biggest difference is, well, number one, the style which they practice and prepare, I think, is more suited for the SEC and the SEC West. The physicality, again, I'll go back to what I said earlier, running the football, stopping the run. It's just got a little more staying power, I think, in this league and particularly in this division. And that's more style of play, but I also think it bleeds into culture because I think there's just a real culture of toughness. And I think more than anything else, though, Ryan, these guys that are coming in and the guys that are in the front, they believe they're going to win an SEC title. They believe they're going to be in the playoffs. They believe they're going to win a national title. And I think they understand that everything they're doing in terms of football is towards that end. There's just like kind of a singular focus. It starts with Jimbo, and it runs down, the assistant coaches, Jerry Schmidt, the strength coach, and all the way down. The players, the same guys, and they just sound and talk and think a lot differently. And they are focused on winning a championship. It's kind of permeated the entire program.
Well, and Billy, we've talked about this for years. I've often said it was a gold mine. It just takes the right coach. The recruiting base is there, financial, the support, the fan base. You look at everything that they've been able to do there in College Station. And we've talked about it 5 years down the road. And I know that has been said multiple times. But you look at what Alabama's been able to do, you kind of wonder who's going to take that second spot. Who's going to challenge Alabama? It's got to be Baton Rouge or it's got to be College Station. I think Auburn's out of consideration. I think they've drifted away. They kind of found themselves in the pecking order.
I tend to agree with you. I think this is a make or break year for Auburn and Gus, and I don't think they're going to get it done. I think ultimately the question will be who's their next coach and where they end up there. I think the timing is perfect for A&M or even LSU, but you look at Ole Miss and Mississippi State both lost. Ole Miss and Mississippi State both lost their, all-time, I think, two of the best coaches in school history there. Arkansas is still a long way from getting there. And I agree with you, it's A&M or LSU. And, a lot of people don't have the faith in Ed O as a coach as they do Jimbo, but you have to respect what they're doing on the recruiting front, and they're doing as well as ever. So he's going to put in an amazing amount of talent on the field, and I think as long as they have Dave Aranda, they'll be in the conversation. But, yeah, I think A&M's got a terrific opportunity right now to take that step and be that team. But I think they have to have a little bit of a breakthrough this year, like we're saying, get that signature win, and maybe it comes down to beat LSU again and make that two in a row with a loaded team coming back in 2020 with LSU coming to Kyle Field with a chance to make that three. Everybody's talking about Georgia, Clemson, and Alabama, but that's a really interesting point you bring up is who's going to position themselves to be the major threat. And what happens in Baton Rouge in the final game of the regular season this year, I think, is going to go a long way towards determining if that team's going to be Texas A&M.
71 days away from Texas State. That's where Texas A&M gets started. At Clemson the second week. They get a few more days to prepare for the Tigers. Lamar, Auburn in College Station, Arkansas in Arlington, and then Alabama comes to town after the bye week at Mississippi. They hate it when we say Mississippi. That's why we say it. It's Ole Miss, but they hate it when we say Mississippi. So we'd like to aggravate them a little bit time from time. Mississippi State, there in College Station, University of Texas, San Antonio, bye week, South Carolina, and then finishing up at Georgia and LSU. Vegas has got it at 8 wins, Billy, over under.
8 over under. That's what I would probably pick, to be honest with you. I mean, 8-4. If they went 9-3, I think that would be again, I think that would be a breakout season. I think you go at 9-3 on that schedule, you're probably winning a bowl game. This team should be a lot better. I talked about the youth in the secondary and at linebacker by season's end. Things changed last year. A&M was a lot better in November and in the bowl than they were early in the year, and that's what Jimbo's teams have always done. I think with the youth, I think this team would be that same type of squad. So if they went 9-3, I think you might want to book in 10-3 and probably a New Year's Six bowl win. I think 8 is the likely number right here. And if they can get 8 with a signature win in there and win a bowl, I think that's progress and setting them up for a big run those next couple of seasons.
It's going to be a conversation piece as we look. Billy, can I get your thoughts? Texas A&M has become the first school in the SEC to now sell beer and wine, starting when we talk about the upcoming football season. Your thoughts and what's kind of the pulse on the local climate there?
I think it just didn't really seem to make much of it was just a blip on the radar, an afternoon of conversation. I don't think people didn't seem to fight it. People didn't seem to celebrate it. It's just kind of a thing that was announced and done, A&M just happened to be the first one to do it.
Okay.
I know that's not an exciting answer, but that's the truth. It just kind of.
Well, I mean, okay. What's your opinion of it? Do you think it's good for the game? Because we were down in Destin a couple of weeks ago, and they act like it's going to be like an immediate fix for attendance slippage around the conference. I think it was a 16-year average low. I mean, do you feel like it's going to fix attendance or at least improve it?
No, I don't. I mean, maybe it'll improve it. I don't. I think it's more money is all it is. I think it's more money. I think it's about I think it comes out. A&M stands to make about $1 million a year more off of this development, and I think that's why the SEC wants to do it. I think that's what's going to happen. It could be attendance. It could be, they could spin it as less people smuggling stuff in, and it controls how much they can drink in a game, and you cut it off at the fourth quarter, whatever. There's no moral high ground to be on because everyone can drink as much as they want in the luxury suites and the expensive seats anyway. So I just think it's much ado about nothing. I think it's just a way for the programs to make more money.
Billy Luicci, man, thank you so much, man. We will see you in Hoover, Alabama in about 25 days.
All right, brother.